past people.
I said we've all run into a problem.
Yeah,
I said, you told Brad.
yeah.
He didn't know.
First time I think I've done that.
On air, George.
Okay. So we can start the meeting at 6:33. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have an extra pen? I left mine sitting out in the truck. 3 of them.
Must be nice out, nobody's here.
Yes, none? I can go get her.
No.
Roll call, please.
Winchester,
Here,
Stillwell,
Here.
Miller,
Yes, here.
Johnson,
Here.
Cullis.
Yes. Okay, next, the agenda approval. I would like to amend the agenda. I would like to take off number 2 under new business and replace it with closed session regarding union contract.
Approve the agenda with changes.
Second?
Motion by Stillwell, support by,
Johnson?
give me a second. He's so excited to get his name on the minutes.
Well, I tried to second something last time and I couldn't. Everybody's jumping on it.
So, motion by Stillwell, support by what's his name? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will move to the
1,000 pink
consent agenda.
flamingos on his
Consent
lawn.
agenda, all items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. They do not require discussion by the NACFA board and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will automatically be moved to the last item under new business.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Winchester, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Miller. I'm going to need a roll call on this.
Johnson,
Here?
Winchester.
Yes.
Stillwell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Cullis.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Public comment on agenda items only. Members of the public may address the board once recognized by the chair. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Prior to addressing the board, members of the public will state their name and address for the record. A second public comment is available prior to the adjournment of the meeting for all other comments. Thank you for your cooperation. Do we have anybody for public comment? Not appearing, we will move up. We don't have any presentations. We'll go into old business. The 2025-2026 proposed NACFA budget. Did you want to present this?
I was waiting for direction.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So what you have prepared for you, I feel like I'm on Chopped.
You're on what?
Chopped.
What I'm prepared for you today, Chefs, is, anyway, this is a semi-annual budget, so this is 6 months versus a full year. So Jeremy took the asks, the wants, the needs, the stuff and the things, and paired them into what's presented before you today. A couple of things that I want to just bring forth is we got our our healthcare renewal. They hit us with another 13%. So, however, the caps went up a little bit, but it certainly was not 13%. So, so that's one of the reasons we're gonna have a bit of an increase in our budget.
So that's line item,
It is down under healthcare, 716.
pardon?
716.
The last one on the page.
Okay, 716 even, not 716 2 or 5.
Correct. Correct. The stipend is what we pay for an employee to not take healthcare insurance, and then the healthcare savings plan, that is post-employment benefit, 2% employee employer match. So there's some wage adjustments in there, some additions as far as some other insurance that we're looking at. Other than that, everything pretty much stayed status quo. So that would be a $591,000 investment from each township, and which is half of 1 point whatever. The math is million. That would be if it was a full year. So there's really not much else to look at.
A $40,000 increase to each township.
It is.
I have a question. You left the $50,000 for safer grant receipts in there for this half in full. Is that because you're gonna receive them in the next
plan.
6 months?
That's the plan. We still have stuff out there. We're still using every dime of that we absolutely can to send guys to training.
And then the training cost out of the safer grant. How come that would be so much? Because you're bringing it in, you have to expend it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It goes in and it goes out.
Okay.
That's technical. I'm not an accountant, but I'm trying my best.
And I see there's a $9,000, well, no, that's $9,000 for the way that I looked at what you presented last month in comparison. Then I halved it and then did the comparison between this one and last month's. So there is an increase though for information technology. Are you guys gonna plan on doing something? Like
Line item?
line item 851
851.
under operating.
So I would have to go back through and look at, I know that we're running high in that caption this year,
Okay.
just because it's not
Stuff
cheap.
happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap anymore, and we've had to purchase a couple more computers, and, right, so I mean, it's not just our contractual obligation to PC3. We've got the website stuff going on, and it just,
Okay. I didn't know if there was something special you were
No.
doing.
growth, controlled growth.
I thought that, you had that little note about adding the extra money, the 30,000 for reserve.
Okay.
I think we should put it in the line item if the board agrees that we will be doing that. It should be a line item up in operating, like add a number 870 that says transfer to fund balance, so it's actually in the budget.
So that would be more of a Jeremy question, and
Yeah,
I think you guys.
that's what
talked-
we do.
Well, I think that you guys talked about that when we first, a couple months ago, did that magic.
Okay.
And pulled capital equipment replacement and turned it into fund balance. That our budget would not show balanced until, I'm sorry, I just,
Well, it will balance if you just create a line item, is what I'm trying to say.
I think I
It
understand
won't
that.
balance technically if you're just calling it out as a footnote.
Right.
But if you put it as an actual budget item, then the budget balances.
Okay, let's make a note to call Jeremy on that. Okay.
I mean, we can go ahead and make that recommendation, but then we'll just put it where we need to put it.
Question on 716.2, the healthcare stipend.
Okay.
Are there any employees that are taking the stipend but don't have any type of health insurance?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe that is something they can do. So
You mean according to the union contract, or?
I think in general, I don't know that we can pay the
Yeah, you can, but it's not a good thing to do because it means people aren't getting medical care like they should.
Well, I understand that, and again, I'm struggling with this. Part of something I saw and remembered reading is if Smith declines insurance, signs something that says they have insurance from somebody else.
Okay.
It's a waiver.
I thought there was something in there with that. So if they signed that because they have insurance with somebody else, they would then get the stipend.
Okay.
I don't believe just because I don't want to have insurance that they would be entitled to that $2,000.
All right.
Any other questions?
And I just,
You would make a motion with your motion. Eight seventy.
So motion to approve the proposed budget, adding a line item 870 for the, what do we call it, for the reserve transfer to fund balance.
And then you want to add the dates of this budget?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's July 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, half-year budget.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the semi-annual budget, July 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, with the amendment adding a line item 870 to include the fund balance of $30,009.55. Is there support?
I'll support.
Motion by Winchester, support by Miller. Any further discussion?
Tell me again, the 30,009 what?
55.
It's this bottom one right here.
Okay. So this is the fund balance from last year, we're adding into it.
No, this is a budgeting for a reserve to be saved, so we can start building up some reserve funds.
Okay,
So you're budgeting for it, and at the end of the year, it'll just, we either can transfer it there if you have a money market account or whatever. You could transfer that because it's a budget item,
This is
instead of, yeah, just a footnote.
Brad, this is in direct response to the audit from last year where they said we didn't have fund balance and should.
Mhm.
So,
okay.
okay. Can I get a roll call, please?
Miller,
Yes.
Winchester,
Yes.
Stillwell,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Hollis.
Yes. Motion carries.
thank you.
Next, we will go to establish capital equipment fund.
More handouts, which I'll give to you. There's that one. These are not 3 foot by 2 foot.
This is for later.
This has to do with the capital improvement fund?
So this is the discussion. You, sir, board, all, ma'ams, sirs, had tasked me with coming up with some kind of plan or capital equipment replacement. And we had a very small one-page piece of paper that we'd started with a couple years ago when the congressional allocation came about and the ARPA funding. So on the big spreadsheet in front of you, that red box that's in the upper corner, that denotes where we started, okay? So that was Jeremy's original sheet, and some of those items we have taken care of, as you'll see that they're crossed through and X'd out, and we've already expended those funds. So moving forward, this is a difficult thing to look at, and it's huge, and it's big, and it's growing. And this is an elephant that we need to eat one bite at a time. Keep a stash of Ziploc bags and some salt and pepper, right, for the leftovers. So as we looked through this, I sent this out to all the officers on the department. I had full-time guys looking this over my shoulder, and we just started punching things down on this list that are like, what do we need to replace? What is breaking? What is wearing out? What do we need to look at? Do we have enough HVAC equipment in the building? Is it aging? I know we've replaced heat exchangers in a couple of them already, and Rodney's constantly telling us we need to get off some money soon to replace the rooftop units here and there. So that's where this list came from. I also sent it over to Chief Covey from Springfield to look at this with his experience in Waterford and a bazillion-dollar budget, and he looked this over, made some comments, which I haven't finished all of those yet, which is to break things down on this big spreadsheet to digest a bit bigger in categories: apparatus and replacement, additional stations, capital projects, and things like that.
And
So
then you'll do all your subs under those
Yes.
certain things?
yeah, so that way when you look
Your
at
sub accounts. It's
Yeah.
kind of like an asset plan,
It is.
capital asset plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm, again, working to try to get this, it makes sense to me, because I put it together, right? And this is my head and my mind, and just kind of how some of the things hit. And I just started in FY '25, I know none of that's gonna happen, but that's where I started. And this can get shifted across a little bit, well, a lot. As years go on, we can adjust and move. But some of the main things that we look at, we've talked about some of the vehicle replacements, tankers, right? And ambulances and brush trucks and so forth. So the smaller sheets that I just sent out, or handed out, one of Chief Covey's feedbacks was, you shouldn't just replace a vehicle because you say so. Because that's how we've always done it, right? We just look at it and say 20 years is junk and we move on. So what I have prepared on this sheet, this is our fleet scoring based on American Public Works Association guidelines. And the second page of that is the scoring. So this isn't Matt's opinion, even though oddly enough it kind of matches, sorry. But it takes our fleet and breaks it down in priority of replacement. You'll see there's red, green, yellow, and this kind of caution, which is a light pinkish red color. So looking at our fleet, there's a lot of red out here. And when you look at the point scoring all the way, and I was pretty light-handed on some of these subjective things like reliability, maintenance, replacement costs, and conditions. I thought I went very light-handed, just so that it didn't look like we were skewing the score towards what I want to do, right? Okay. So, when you look at all of this, we have one engine that's in the green, and we have 2 ambulances in the green. We have a brand-new brush truck in the green, the brand-new squad in the green, and the Dodge pickup truck in the green. Everything else is in some state of it needs to be replaced. And when you look at the scores, and I want to pat myself on the back, I did some conditional formatting, so when I hit a number, we change the color, so that when we do this again in 2026, we put the new mileage in, some of these scores will change, and it'll change the color to whatever that, anyway, I was just nerding out, sorry. So, looking at all of this, our average engine and tanker is 13 years old. Our ambulances, the average is 9. Our special other vehicles, 8, and again, the brush truck, the new brush truck, the squad, and my pickup truck kind of skew that average because we just bought those. But this really, like I say, just to reiterate, this shows the need. And when you look at scores like 40 and 56, those are pretty high scores, right? And those are immediate consideration for replacement. Anything over 28 points. So when you look at the big spreadsheet, and you see that in these years, we've got 800, and by the way, Chief Covey thinks I'm light on pricing. basing this on the village just purchasing a truck for 700,000, so maybe I'm 200,000 light. I hate to, like I say, these are guesses at the moment. We haven't got to the point where we're gonna go out and look for budgetary proposals, because the minute I do that, my phone does not stop ringing. Because everybody wants to sell you a truck, and as soon as one fella finds out, 15 others are calling you, so I'm not there yet. So when you look at FY '25, again, just based on this swag of a plan, we definitely need to replace Rescue 4, that's a 56 on the sheet, and so that's an actual price, $320. That would buy a truck today. When you scroll down to brush truck, replace brush 3, that's in Jeremy's list still. I've got 85,000 there. So that would buy the unit, the truck itself, the chassis, get the lights on and the lift kit. We have the skid coming on a grant already, so that would, we'd save some money there. When we get down into replace old turnout gear, we're still trying to get our pulse on that. I think that we're at the point where we need to replace them on the 10-year life cycle. We're doing an audit of all of our gear right now, but for 35 sets, it's $150,000. Our utility truck, so that's the truck that we have the plow on and the salter. That truck's a 2015, and when you look at the score on that, it's 25. We beat the hell out of that truck with plowing and salting and up and down the dirt roads for responses. That's another $80,000 investment that we would need to make. The plow and the salter could move over, right? We could add the lights and sirens on that would take up the extra money to make the 80. And as you roll down, there's a biggie on there, $850,000 for a new tanker, and that's to replace tanker 3. And when you look at that on our list, under engines and tankers, that's a 36. So that's a fairly high number for replacement. And you just keep on rolling down here, and we've got things like an ATV. So, we have one right now. It's 15 years old. We should probably buy another one, and then replace that 15-year-old at the 20-year mark, and then have 2 for a while for safety, right? So we go out in pairs and so forth. But these are all the things that we started looking at. The farther down the list you go, the kitchen at Station 1. It's 2009, we opened the station. How many of you guys have gone that long without a kitchen remodel, right? The cabinets that were put in were marginal quality at the time. The doors are falling off. We're constantly fixing them. It doesn't meet the way we operate today. That's kind of the big gathering point in the station is the kitchen and the day room. So there's been, for the last couple of years, a lot of pressure to remodel that and make it nicer for the guys working there, living there, every day. So I just threw 25,000 in that. I don't know if that's, a good number or not. So when you get all the way down to all of it, for the first hit on this, we're looking at $1,716,000, which is a lot of money. And then as you go through the subsequent years, they're not much different until we get out to the third year in 2027, and that's almost $4 million. And that's including things like a breathing air compressor. We may or may not need to replace that. That was something we purchased with grant money back in the day. We've got another engine that would need to be replaced, so that's TAC 1, that's a 2014, and currently that's a 26. So, our fleet's aging, and these are things that we need to prepare for. In that 2027 plan, perhaps we're ready for a new station then, or an additional station, and this would be the Fish Lake Grange Hall corridor, which we've got, fingers crossed, property for it. If the development goes through, there's a new development going in there. There's the Trilogy Healthcare Complex that's going in now there. That would give us stations on both sides of the tracks, would strategically cover some areas a bit better. So, a consideration, probably $2.5 million, $250 a square foot for about 10,000 square feet, right? one of the things that's, that I had in there for the next year is $1 million-ish for, so you have to build a station, then you have to put stuff in it, right? So at some point, we're gonna need to have that ladder truck conversation. And that'll be more than $1 million. But does this make sense with where I'm going and where we're trying to identify the needs based empirically rather than because I said so, right? I mean, just because the coffee cup on my mirror, or my windowsill says I'm the chief and I said so, that really doesn't fly here, right?
Yeah, no, I like this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's, really helps.
So what it doesn't do, unfortunately, this is the who, what, when, where, and the why. We've got the how to deal with, and I don't know what that is.
We've got the what?
How,
I'm sorry.
yes. So that's where we need to concentrate and work on is, you know, is this a realistic expectation? As far as what we need to do, this isn't what we want to do, right? We need to breathe, we want to go outside because it's nice. So these are the needs of the department laid out. And there's not a lot of fluff here as far as frilly stuff. You know, we've tried to rotate like a chief's vehicle, drive it for 3 years, hand it down, right? So we're not buying 3 pickup trucks every year. Just trying to be frugal and creative with this as well. With, as a matter of fact, one of the guys said, well, you should be doing, you buy it here, you drive it, you hand it here, this guy goes and hands it here, and then it goes to auction. And, okay, I like that idea. So that's kind of what you see when you look on the chief's vehicle line. There's a couple of purchases as you go across there 3 years apart, and that's what that would identify. And then that chief's vehicle would go for a response unit, like a shift supervisor or a quick medical response, like an echo unit, we call it, where when we're really tapped out, we've got somebody we can send immediately, they can start providing care as we wait for mutual aid to come in, which, you know, we've been running back-to-back calls pretty frequently lately, so.
Could you do one thing and add like a second column, a really tiny one, with the number, or, you know, the color corresponding on what they would be in here? These
gotcha,
are
yes.
on here.
We're there.
Right,
I got it.
okay.
Yep.
Because if it,
Yes,
it's
that
hard
would
to
be-
read if you darken in the list, but if you put just a really super tiny
Yeah.
column.
So when you have the electronic copy of this, there's another tab.
Oh, is there? Okay.
And this sheet's on that tab. But
Okay.
I will carry over from one to the other so that we can look at the 2 by 3 foot version.
Yeah.
And say, oh, that's a red, that's a yellow,
Yes.
that's a green. I got
It'll help.
No, perfect. And then, just as a side note, because I, again, started nerding out, you know, we put, on the ambulances, we put 10,000, almost 11,000 miles a year on the ambulances, the 2 frontline ambulances. In the bigger trucks, so the engines and the tankers were in the 2,500 mile range. And when you think about that, that's really not a lot of miles a year, but it's severe duty, super duty miles, right? When we go through this particular sheet here, when you look at the types of service under there, everything's a 5 except the pickup truck, which is a 3. So when you read the type of service comments, 1, 3, or 5 points are designated or assigned based on the type of service the unit is exposed to. So, right, that's a weighted factor in the mileage. And I know I'm trying to go in circles here. I apologize for that. But when you look at those miles, that's hard-duty miles, right? I mean, it's not like it's just going to the ice cream shop and back or to the grocery and back. It's blasting down the road. It runs wide open for 3 or 4 hours on a fire and then it gets parked. We run it out on the expressway or run it on a rack, so that's that. Again, I don't have the how, but here's most
Oh,
of
I
it.
guess you could include the points in there too.
So the
In
point,
In the little column.
we could. So the points are gonna change yearly,
Each year.
Okay.
right? Because we add another year of age, and then we add more miles and more engine hours. So,
I was gonna say, I wanted to talk about, I don't know who created this markup, but I just find it interesting that it goes from, there are four ranges. It goes from condition 1, excellent, condition 2 is good.
Yep.
Condition 3 needs to be replaced.
Qualifies. Right. Well, no, I mean, it qualifies. to be-
Qualifies it.
So that doesn't mean it needs to be replaced?
It qualifies for it, right. Yeah, again, I didn't make this up.
It's not,
No, I didn't
it's,
say you made it up, but my concern is I'm looking at a brand-new vehicle. I say brand new, and I don't know. It says on here, for example, engine 3 is year 2019.
Yep.
But I also know how long it takes them to build it before it gets delivered. Do we take delivery of that in 2019, or by the time we get it, is it 2020?
So we can go one of two ways with this. What I did is I took the year built, and that is close to when it was in service. The lead time before was not like it is today. Okay, so if we bought a 2024 chassis today, and it was put in service in 2026, I would have it on here as a 2026.
Okay, that was one question I
Yep.
had. Just because I knew it was so.
Yeah, no, and when I looked at Waterford's sheet, it was year in service. And, you know, when I look, again, my knowledge of our fleet, pretty much the years align with when they went in service close enough to, I mean, a point, is that gonna make a difference one way or another? It really isn't. I'm just trying to equalize.
I know,
Okay.
I'm just looking at it, and like the 2022 ambulances, which are 2 years, not quite 3 yet, because we're early in the year.
Yep.
But they're already a year away from being knocked out of the top category, and there's only 4 points before you jump down to qualifying to be replaced. And it just seems awful fast to me.
This was.
I'm just looking at the new vehicles we bought. 2 for 2022 are at 16 points. Next year, they're gonna be out of that category into the good, and in 2 more years, they'll be into the need to replace their.
5 years as an ambulance, that's it.
Yeah.
And not because I said so, that's just, when you look out in service, most of the higher.
I unfortunately just don't see how, based on knowing the tax revenue that we collect, unless we go from 4 mills to 7 or 8,
Well,
how
this is,
that happens.
and just to be blunt, this is a good deed that's going
Mhm.
punished, period. We have been successful with so many grants over the years that it has freed up money to do other things. And when you look down this 2x3 sheet, air packs, we got those on a grant. It doesn't matter, we have to replace those,
Right.
okay?
No, I understand.
Right, turnout gear, we have no choice, 10 years is junk. So we had a grant that covered a lot of that. So, you know, we're in the point of our existence where we've got to stand up and I hate to say put our big boy pants on, but we've got to support ourselves somehow. And I don't know how that is. This was handed to me, right? And I am trying to make sense of this, to put in front of our board what this is going to look like. And then we've got some hard decisions to make. When you look at the level of service that we provide, it's right up there. You look at the amount of people that we have, it's way down there. And, you know, we have a combination staff that is dedicated to this department, right? I mean, all of those things. So this is what this looks like. And, you know, unless we really get relief from grant stuff, which, looking at our current administration at the top, I don't know that that's gonna be a priority for the administration. I just don't know that it is. So we've gotta figure something out. And, you know, maybe we look at going to the people and saying, hey, we need a couple of mills over a couple of years to replace stuff.
Well, I know that we
I don't
looked
know how
at,
that
we
looks.
looked at that study on what other communities have for millages. And it's really unfortunate in one respect, because if you're in a community that's had a lot of growth, like a Commerce, like a Novi, Milford, their millages are at 2.5 mills.
Correct.
Because they've got so much development. Then you look at some other areas, and I remember I showed you, Karen, I was shocked, somebody was at 9 mills.
wow.
And I thought, 9 mills?
So my property in northern Michigan is a lot of mills for the fire department. It's over 10.
Because they're so rural.
I pay $700 some odd a year for taxes on a 10-acre vacant piece of property. And there's a big chunk of that goes to fire and EMS. They split it out. So, you know, I hear you loud and clear, but I also want to tell you, we've got development coming here too, and that's going to put more strain on us, right? When, and this is in my report, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, when you look at Trilogy coming in with assisted and unassisted living, that's 150 calls a year that's going to tax on our department, right out of the gate, period. And then how many houses are coming in behind that, right? Another 100 plus or so. There's 40 more going in now-ish, round numbers, right? So there's growth coming that's going to put more draw on us to do the jobs that we need to do with equipment that's running out of date.
And we've got another, what, 400, 500 homes coming to Holly Hills.
That's another, what, 200, I think, is the other expansion, which they're digging holes already.
They don't have approval, they haven't even applied to the Mobile Home Commission yet.
Only for section 2.
They're doing that, that's phase 3.
Part of it's phase 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, they're pushing dirt over there,
Yeah.
so that's above my
So
pay
right
grade at the
now,
moment.
that phase 3,
We
yeah,
don't-
is
I'm just-
another
What she's telling me
35.
is we just caught them.
Okay,
They were trying to come in like, we got to have addresses, we're rocking and rolling. And we started looking at the map, and I said to Karen, I said, that's, so she looked into it, turns out they hadn't even applied for
The
such.
same guy, remember, Ken?
All right.
Yeah,
yes, so, all of that said,
yeah.
right, we've got to address this, and, you know, I'm here to help, but I don't know that I have the 100% answer. I can show you what we need, I can try to give, right, all of these resources and figures and facts, but at the end of it, all I can do is make recommendations.
Well, we needed a start, and this is what we needed to even
Okay, now,
start discussing it.
I'm just curious, and I don't know what it would take, but, because we've just replaced, for example, the 2 ambulances, and I'm wondering what the scores would have been for the vehicles that we replaced.
100.
100.
You might have, I mean,
So,
George,
George,
for example, how old was the brush truck?
86.
86, so that's like 300 on the score, because it's like.
No, it's a
1
point per year, don't get too carried away.
So the points are 86.
Right,
No, not 86, whatever
Whatever the math is.
however
Well, it would've been
many
like
years.
40.
yeah, just for the
40.
age. Well, so
Yeah.
here's the other thing too I want to point out is, when you start at the left of this and you work to the right, I hadn't even made it to type, or to reliability, costs and conditions, and some of these vehicles already scored out.
That's what I mean, just by age of,
Correct.
because I'm looking at 2022s, which you would think is a fairly new vehicle. And it's hard for me to believe we've already had them on the road for 3 years, but I could be wrong.
No, they have been. I mean, because we got those as they were coming off the line. We got the phone call, said in 3 months you can have an ambulance.
But next year they're out. And in 2 more years, they're
Right. So.
qualify for replacement.
So what you look at, since you brought it, and we'll just kind of roll through this, when you look at Rescue 4 and Rescue 2, those are in the red, okay? Those are backup vehicles right now. So those are the 2 that you would replace now. And then they would roll up to the front. They would start accumulating miles. These other 2 2022 trucks, they would kind of level out a bit as far as the score goes, all right? Because we wouldn't be putting a boatload of miles on them. They would get a point per year for age. You're not going to put a bunch of hours on them either. So they kind of, right, even out. The only thing that would, and it wouldn't be that big a deal, is when you get into some of the reliability and maintenance and repair costs. If the reliability started going down, where every time we checked the truck or we went to take it to fuel it, it didn't start, or a wheel fell off, or whatever, right? That would add extra points to this and bring it into that replacement category a bit quicker. So that's the plan with all of this is, you know, especially on these ambulances, because, you know, we need them, and we run them hard. They would go to the backup status, or if we opened a new station, we'd put one of them over there. And then the 2 new trucks would be in green for quite a while, and, you know, it just kind of rotates through. So again, this is just an empirical way to look at, I hate to say it because I said so, but because I said so. And I did look a little bit into the American Public Works Association, and this is a real thing. I didn't know if Chief Covey, this was something he made up, and I started Googling all of this, and well, I mean, it's a legit deal. So I just ran with it.
It's
I
a great
have a-
way to know where you're at.
Yeah.
So part of this is to establish a capital equipment fund. Explain how that's different from the capital improvement we have within the budget.
So, we don't. Months ago, we made a change in our budgeting. So we did have something we called a capital replacement fund. It really wasn't that. It's a fund balance from our operating budget. You and I have talked a bit that we don't have a capital improvement plan or line item or separate fund, okay? What we would do is we would take on debt, and we would use some of that money to, as a down payment, to take that debt on, and then we would have a line item in our budget for debt services. It would be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year for a truck payment, which sounds like a lot because it is. But we would take a $500,000 truck and amortize it out over 3 or 4 years, or 5 years, or whatever it was. So we never had a fund that really percolated to the point where we could say, here's $1 million, go buy an engine, okay? The second thing is, if it was that type of fund, it would be a 4/5 vote of the board to allocate that money. The way we're set up now, that fund balance does not require a 4/5 vote. It's actually in a money market right now. If we start running short, we can draw out of that to make adjustments, like when Guido's knocking on the door in January looking for our check, we can cover expenses until we get our checks, or in July. So that's where we've gone with that, and it's been a misnomer for a long, long time that we have this fund, and we really, really don't. Now, there is a line item on the budget that says capital expenses, 10,000 and above and below, and that would be, more or less the lock system that we put in. Some of the equipment that we purchase for the engines to go, or the trucks to go on them, like if we purchased a set of jaws, that would come out of that line item budget. We would try to budget for it. As you, mentioned with the roof situation, we were irritated, rightly so, that we didn't have this budgeted for a $50,000 roof replacement. That's where we're trying to go with those types of things now.
Yeah, we need to prepare and plan for all that.
Right.
And the mechanical systems and,
Yeah,
When we had the mortgage on Station 1,
yes.
that's before my time from a mortgage standpoint, what was the payment on that?
660,000, 660, I think it was. It saved about $60,000, I think, in a year, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'd have to look at a past budget, because there was 2 debt service lines on there. One was for apparatus and one was for the building.
I just wondered when we paid that off, did that money just disappear into the budget, or did we keep putting it away? That was an even where you can't answer no. You can answer no to one of them, but you can't answer no to both.
It didn't disappear, it went to a job, I think.
Well, it's been allocated other places, and we're trying to take that and use it as fund balance money to build that. So did it disappear 100%? No.
So this is good. I think we yet need more work to do for this tonight.
Oh, this is not done here, sir. Not
Okay.
even close.
It's
I've
on
been,
the agenda.
Karen and I have been going back and forth, like, this is a work in progress. Don't share it. I don't want 15 electronic copies of this out there, and then I'm gonna get blasted because this isn't right. So, no, this is,
Him or you?
it's me to her. Yeah. Don't send this out to everybody. No, again, this is a work in progress. I want you to know that I am listening, and we are making progress at this. This is a hell of a lot more work than I ever thought it would be. I thought I could sit down in about 20 minutes and hammer this out, and boy, was I wrong. I probably spent 20 minutes on one item, just thinking about it, right?
Yeah, I'm a simple guy, but just looking at these numbers, I'm really just gonna have to be at least 8 just to cover for this year, for what you want to do. 8 mils.
Well, I
Unless
think
we
as I
look
look
at
at the numbers
authority.
across here.
And then you keep going across here, and it gets higher and higher, and da-da-da.
Well, but
we
So,
don't necessarily have to have another station at this point. We could identify if, the need there.
New
so-
station isn't on 2025, it's just
Well,
replacement stuff.
2027. when it goes way up.
Yeah.
Question for you,
My,
Matt.
my point is, we gotta promote this somehow so the people understand it. They're not stupid.
Nope.
So somehow we have to get this out to them to help them understand why we have to take more money from them.
I think.
Like I said, I'm simple here, so.
One of the things we need to do is we look at this, this is 10 years out. Yeah. I think we need to start crunching the numbers to see what that actually looks like in a 10-year plan. Because it's high in the first couple, and it changes.
Yeah, it starts dropping.
The other problem is, over this 10 years, and I haven't examined it that well, in this 10 years, are you replacing some of the vehicles we just bought? Are they in here too? Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
they're
so I think we
flip-flopping,
need to look at that
especially the
number.
ambulances, right?
So the
Right in
ambulances are
here.
the highest burn
Every
rate.
5 years, it looks like.
What is this, 20? Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I think we need to now start doing some projection numbers as to what that looks like from a standpoint of what Brad's saying. If you wanted to implement this plan right here, what does that look like in actual numbers?
And you have the,
Millage wise, I know the numbers are there, but I.
yeah, and, marketing it, okay? That's to your point.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta get out
So
sometime.
we need to have a plan first.
You gotta sell it, my
Gotta
point,
have a
I guess.
plan.
And there are companies that can assist us in doing that. The school has been very successful over many years with,
Prime example, that's what we have to do, yes.
yes, and there are promotional companies that we can pay. I know that's not a popular thing to talk about, but they're professionals,
Mhm.
right? They put out professional material with professional outcomes to get what we need. And if it costs us a chunk of money to do that, it's an investment. And what is our return on our investment? If we invest 20,000 into this or whatever, and we end up with the money we need, it's a great investment. But, you know, we could buy high and sell short too, so, I don't know. But, you know, again, I'm here to give you the who, what, when, where, and why. We've got to figure out the how.
Yeah,
as we move
because Rose Township can't count on like being commerce.
forward. No,
Growth is
understood.
not gonna come here, so that means we're gonna have to go digging in people's pocket to get the service and keep the service that we want. It's that simple, otherwise we
It's that
gotta
simple.
grow.
No, it is that simple.
So that's what we have to promote somehow.
Yep.
I'm just spitballing here, but that's things we have to talk about to everybody that, hey, you want your 10 acres? That's great, but it's gonna cost you to be on 10 acres. Otherwise, the 10 acres, we're gonna have to put, 20 houses on there, or whatever the case may be.
We got you.
And people don't want that, so we have to sell that is what my point is. So that's a challenge to this board, how are we gonna do that? And like the school did, that's probably the route we gotta go to try and get it out there. And we need to do it now and not later by what I see here.
I say equipment millage, so they don't think it's going into the general operating.
Not paying George salary.
Right, yeah.
My salary, just to put it where it is.
Yeah.
Or Brad.
I think it's
Question
easier.
for you,
And
Matt.
yeah, and that's a good sell, hey, we-
You've got
It's an easy-
ambulance
That's how long
to
an
replace
ambulance
Rescue
lasts.
2,
Gotta
remount
replace
2015.
it.
You got a cost of
I mean, it's
$170,000.
Exactly, it's a matter of fact, here's the facts.
Yep.
Yes.
What about the information, you just heard it, I saw it in the news, you had a conference of fire chiefs from the Midwest. I saw it in the news the other night where a conglomerate bought up all the companies that are making fire trucks.
So,
They were actually talking about
Yeah, they all own like 80 or 90% now.
yeah, so E1,
Yeah.
it
Monopoly.
means there's no competition for
Right.
pricing.
Yep.
yeah, I can't help it.
You can't what?
I can't help that, I can't do anything with that, I mean, that's a condition of,
No, but I'm saying that was.
one bought out just about everybody. We have traditionally bought Spartan products, Spartan ERV, Spartan emergency vehicles. They're out of Charlotte, Michigan. They had plants all over. They were a huge conglomerate themselves. They had bought up Laverne. They had bought up a bunch of other companies to make Spartan ERV. E1 bought Spartan ERV out, so now they owned all of Spartan and all of E1. E1 is they've got ambulances, they've got fire trucks, ladder trucks. So our wheel coach ambulances are part of that conglomerate. If we bought a road rescue, it would be part of that conglomerate. So, yeah, there's not a lot of competition in the space, but there's a lot of different price points in the space too. So you can buy a Chevy, you can buy a Oldsmobile, you can buy a Cadillac, you know, or you can buy a Yugo, all in that space from one manufacturer. So, but no, that's been, how long, when did that happen, Doug? It was, what, 2 years ago? I think he went and bought all that out. And then the only thing Spartan kept was the chassis, or no, the delivery truck stuff. Because they were building delivery trucks for Amazon or somebody, which was a very profitable business. All the MRAPs and a lot of the military vehicles. Military vehicles, they were building the heck out of those because it's everything, and the motorhome. All the rest of it, Spartan sold off to E1. And as a matter of fact, Revability out on Dixie Highway used to be that part of that conglomerate. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. So your question, Dan.
Back to this question. So 170,000, that was the cost for the new ambulance,
So
or would be?
when Jeremy put this together, and this is just a little history, that vehicle was to be replaced under fiscal year, where do you have it? Help me out here. So that was under FY 2024 is when he was thinking he wanted to replace that, and that was just a swag at a price. When we bought these 2022s, they were 200,000 plus equipment to go in them.
Okay, all right.
So that was, remember the big explosion about?
Yeah,
it
I
was
thought they were
170.
more than the 220 something.
Yeah.
And that's why I couldn't figure out why you only had a 350,000
No,
number.
and this, I had to start from somewhere, and that's
Yeah.
what that red box designates, is that's ground zero.
Remember, our ambulance cost has gone up by $60,000 just for the power load system.
Right.
So that the medical staff isn't bringing them back, every year and off on disability.
And the good news is, the trucks we would replace, that 60K investment goes into the new truck, at least until it times out, which I do not have on here yet. We gotta figure out what
But
the
you
life,
would- you'll-
well, we gotta figure out what the lifespan is.
Yeah.
right? Is
Oh,
it a 10
absolutely.
Is it a 10-year under heavy use, a 15-year under our use? Our use is becoming more and more. We're doing 6 calls a day, it seems like now, from 3, so, but yes.
Okay, this isn't gonna happen unless we have a plan to sell it. So that would be the next challenge as far as I'm concerned. We have an idea,
Okay,
but
so,
we gotta start selling it somehow.
so I'm an action fella, so how do we move forward with that?
Yeah, that's a good darn question. I liked your school idea. I don't know how that was done, but they did present it very well on all the things that they wanted to do and why they wanted to do it, and
But we need to have a full list, so this
I'm
should
getting
be
there.
complete, yeah,
I'm
before
getting
we,
yeah, oh yeah, we gotta
Yeah.
have definitely this
yeah,
black and white first,
Right.
yes.
Like generators, right, standby power for the
yeah,
stations.
absolutely.
I'm trying to get a ballpark price to figure that out for, they don't need replaced today, but are they gonna need replaced in 10 years, right? I mean, where do we start? So, no, I'm still plugging through, trying to get real numbers, and if this is the direction, I'll make those phone calls and start.
Well, we don't
getting
have a
beat-
choice.
No, I mean, I'll make the phone calls and start getting beat up by vendors.
Yeah.
Wanting to sell trucks every day, and I'm gonna give them your number, Karen. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you.
Thank you.
But, so are there any other questions? This has been a good.
Well, what are
discussion.
some more ideas that we got besides, I don't know.
I said,
Yeah.
I think the next step to do, as he completes this, is we've got to do the number budget thing, project it out
Oh,
Yeah,
first, so that we
Yes.
know what we're looking at.
yeah, that definitely has to come
And once
first.
you do that numbers.
But then how do we sell it? How do we
Well,
let people
I
know
think-
about it?
I
I don't mean sell it, I do mean sell it. You gotta
So-
have an information highway for everybody,
So I think
somehow.
once
Need
we put the
support.
numbers out, then the next step is we start talking to a couple of those companies that do this on a regular basis.
Okay,
But I think if we were to call them now, we're not ready.
no.
Probably not. They would give me some homework, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got enough already.
So,
We have to have a complete list
yeah, big
and,
number, but
and
it's a good start.
So I'll ask the unpopular decision. Do we want to have a couple of point folks on the board to converse with as we kind of muddle through this as a subcommittee? Or just leave it as a full board discussion for here on out?
So, I have an opinion, but you guys can offer yours.
I don't like,
I know, I look at you every time.
My problem with doing that, Matt,
Yes, sir.
because we have a 5-member board,
yeah, it's,
you know, Brad and I are doing union negotiation, we're going into closed session today, because I can't talk to anybody. I can't talk to Karen, he can't talk to Debbie in the office. Nobody wants to talk to Johnson, so, but that,
So,
yes.
so not to
Tomorrow
try-
morning, 10,000 pink flamingos on your lawn.
Okay.
So,
But my point is, because our board is so small, that makes it hard.
I get
Because you
it.
end up with one person from each place, and that's all you can do. So I think we need to take this back and,
Okay.
and put some of this work together and bring it back, and then let the board keep to moving,
keep
let the
moving.
board keep moving it forward.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I
If
just-
you have to
yeah,
have
I just want-
special sessions, that's what we'll do.
Right,
Yeah.
Yep.
We just have to do it.
yeah, I agree.
I felt obligated to ask for
I
Karen's
think you
benefit.
got a collective answer.
Well, I think you got a good feeling here where we're headed, right? Or where we feel this is where we got ahead, so.
Okay,
And I'll keep printing them 2 foot by 3 foot to bring to the board.
Yeah, well, I can't read the other 11 by 8, so.
I know, I'm
11
sorry.
by 16, whatever it
so
was.
that original one that showed up in my thing on an 8.5 by 11, we have this large magnifying glass in the office, then it has a 10 times Karen and I were like, oh, we can see one word at a time with this thing.
I know, it's very comprehensive, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what else to do with it? Unless you want to split it in like 10 pages and then you're like,
No, that,
yeah.
it works good.
We'll get
Once I
there.
figured
Chief,
out how to get
appreciate
it
your
to
work
print.
so far, and we understand where you're headed, so
All right?
you're here to protect us all.
Okay. So we will move on to new business, which is the proposed amendment to the Mountain Corporation. We have them in this, this group here. This has been a long time coming, but they seem to be, I went through here and had a hard time finding anything wrong.
We're just changing the stuff, the calendar year is the only thing that we're,
Right.
yeah, these were already approved.
This is the first amendment to the new amendment.
Yes.
Sorry, I can't help myself.
That's the truth. Yeah, so it's really very simple.
I tried not to complicate it.
Yeah.
I think I might have. Thank you for reeling me in.
Okay, well, yeah, it was going sideways really quick.
I appreciate you guys more than you know, believe me.
I would move to approve the amendments to the Articles of Incorporation and forwarding them to the townships for approval.
I will
Motion
support.
by Winchester, support by Miller. Did I hear?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call.
Okay, Stillwell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Winchester,
Yes.
Hollis.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we're gonna get a clean copy, right? Take to our board?
Yeah, that's been a long time waiting, but it's
Well-
finally here.
Or do
You want to take the same one to your board that shows the changes?
Here?
Right,
Yep.
Okay.
this one.
Okay? And that will go under unfinished business for next month, so we can report on the 2 boards,
Mhm. Okay.
just for whoever's doing the agenda thing.
You do an agenda for that, Debbie, for us?
Next is
Oh, for,
going into closed session for
For Rose.
Oh, okay,
conversation
yeah.
regarding the union contract. So I would make a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of union contract negotiation.
support?
Motion by Cullis, support by Winchester. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
What time is it? 7:33?
Yes, 7:33.
Then are we going somewhere?
Upstairs, there's a door.
There's a door?
They've installed a new door.
Oh, nice.
I called Brad earlier today and I said, we're gonna need a door. He said, I'll get right on it.
And win him.
We're high class around here now.
Sorry.
It's okay. Nat, you can't go. No. You're not a voting member of the board. Rita said she would.
Okay. Do you need anything from me on my side?
Correct, yes.
Okay, you can't come play with us. All righty then.
Are we still recording?
Yes, that's a good idea, I'll stop.
Yep.
Matt, you should-
Well, I don't want to post 2 recordings, so. I'm gonna try to edit it. And take this section out. I have an editor, I don't know how to use it yet. Good point. So Doug just brought up a good point, we're still recording.
Yes, we are.
So,
Don't see anything bad.
would I have an editor, but I haven't figured out how to use it.
I hear you.
So, conversations that haven't been had in a while,
They're
I
difficult.
would assume.
They're difficult.
Oh, they're very difficult. I've been in similar shoes before. And it comes a point when you can't stretch that dollar. I was very thrifty in managing money for years in a place. And then one day I woke up and said, I'm doing a disservice because the next person is not going to, not going to be as thrifty in expenditures and do this as well. They're going to be different. And so I need to start stepping things up so that they're not caught short.
Right.
It's good that you have Karen's resources too.
Hard to talk a lot. It's a pretty spirited conversation.
It sounds like she has a good handle on it.
She does. She's a very good asset. Her and I don't always agree, which is good.
That is good.
Which is good. And we can respectfully disagree.
She's pretty good natured about these things.
I've known her for a long time. She's been on the board for years, long time.
We have music. I wanna,
I can listen.
having to restore it yet.
Yeah, I have hold music for legal closed session.
We have to, first we have to agree on what we're gonna.
Just get the stock stuff that comes with the phone system and just let it loop. This whole country.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Let's see, oh, we could do Dixon violin, let's do that.
All right.
violin going on over here?
This is Dixon's violin.
I really like that.
That's cool.
It is really good. How'd you find it? Just
I have a very,
Oh, that's funny. I get it, though.
my daughter does too, and I love
Should've gone the other way.
it.
Yeah.
Let me get behind you, George.
You don't know what.
Oh, there's this little
It's great.
yeah.
All right. Good.
As long as it's good music, she'll play it.
I don't know what, a little stubble going on, don't we?
Okay,
I would make a motion to
Yeah, you go.
open, to come out of
Closed session.
closed session.
at 8:08.
8:08.
Thank you.
Is there support?
What- oh,
Dan?
Yes.
mhm.
Debbie's too slow today.
Let Dan stretch his legs.
Sheesh. Sheesh. Okay, so now I gotta go back into open session.
Motion
We're
by
in-
Winchester, who was the support?
Dan.
Mr. Johnson? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now,
Okay, so I would make a motion that the board grants the negotiation team to continue or proceed as discussed in closed session.
motion by Miller, support by Winchester. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That moves us on to reports, including the monthly incident data for February 2025.
The last page of the packet.
Yeah, I don't know what, must have left part of my packet on my desk.
So, it was a busy month. Long story short, 28-day month, 24 runs. Yeah, this was pretty, or I'm sorry, 31-day month. It was a pretty busy month. Looking at our response times, we're still right in the ballpark. Those have not drifted. When you look at our out-of-district runs, there's 17, right? So part of my report that I sent out was looking at mutual aid responses. We've been looking at that monthly, which I'll get to in a minute. But really, just a busy month. No red flags here as far as, anything as far as we're concerned. Just we're getting busier. Yesterday was like a 6 or 7 call day. Last week was only a 3 call a day week. The week before that, it was 5 calls a day. So, our average is going up. As I calculate things out, we're 4 runs a day to date for the year, so.
Does it seem nicer the weather, the more calls?
Nope. No, I wish I could attribute to something. It's just we're getting busier. I mean, we have one resident that we have been to 30 times.
Oh, my gosh.
Whoa.
I said I was sorry.
I mean,
Why don't we just get him a cot at the fire hall?
no. I just put that out there. We have some heavy users of our service, so, it is what it is. As I move through my report here, if there's any questions, please, pump the brakes for me.
Oh.
Yes.
What was the outcome of the hit and run there on Rose Center Road?
So, while I can't get into specifics, we did not transport.
Okay.
They sought care on their own and promptly posted lots of things on social media about their dissatisfaction with the police.
With the police?
Yes, sir.
Not with the fire department?
Correct.
Okay.
When was that?
It was
Last
just-
week?
Yeah, last week, right on the other side of Hickory Ridge.
So the
Rose
police.
School
Center?
bus.
Police would have been the state police?
Somebody went around a school bus and hit somebody is what social media says.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah, I never heard.
A car went around a school bus that was dropping off a kid and hit the kid and kept going and,
Then came back
oh, they did come back.
hour later.
Really?
So, wait, well, I'm done talking.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're fine. I mean, that's the information we have as well, is the person that hit the child came back. We did not transport the child. He was signed off by his parents. They sought medical care afterwards, so, you know, it is what it is, and that's what the incident was, so. All the displeasure was with the state police and how they handled it. We did what we did.
These 17 runs, are they all over, or,
I'll get to there.
pardon?
Okay. That's later in my report, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. So one of the things I'm required to do, back in August, we made some operational changes, some temporary appointments of people to positions for operational needs. Those assignments were for 6 months with notice to you, so here's your notice. We will be extending those at least to the end of the calendar year once we get through budget and that other thing that's going on, the contract. Once we get through that, we'll make a decision at that point. So just FYI, we're going to continue moving forward with those as they are, okay? The I-75 construction project is in full swing, if anybody didn't know. Surprise. We were just out there again today. It seems like it's about a daily-ish occurrence that we're out there. Somebody piles into the wall and we go out and shut traffic down while they clear the wreck up. And if somebody needs transport, Groveland handles it. As I've alluded, we have a collaborative response plan with our neighbors. So Springfield, Independence, Groveland, us, and, by the way, Grand Plain Township. We've got a plan put together where we all kind of just descend on the area and do what we can to get there as quickly as we can. If you haven't driven it, you know, you're impounded in 2 lanes of traffic with no ins or outs. So we've really got to work hard to get the folks in a pretty expeditious manner, so.
I noticed that they had put a couple of additional pull-off spots.
Many.
As long as people cooperate and have their accident there.
Well, so, you know, tongue in cheek, yes, but if you get a flat tire or you have an issue where you need to pull off the road, that's the place where you do it, not just, oh, I think this is, and put it in park and go change a tire in the middle of traffic, right? So, and plus it gives us the ability to push or move disabled vehicles, if we can do that safely, to one of those places, so we can keep a couple lanes of traffic rolling. Because as it was today, we shut one lane of traffic down, went southbound, and you can only imagine what the result was.
You don't want to drive through downtown Clarkston in the morning or the afternoon now.
Right. Or Dixie, or Grange, I mean, every road is just getting pummeled. You know, the first day the project kicked off, we were up on North Holly Road with a wreck, and man, traffic was just absolutely ridiculous. So, it's here. So my advice, be patient, be respectful, be responsible, and take your time.
You can go north.
And go north.
Yeah.
Exactly. From North Holly Road. So as far as uncovered shifts go, we've been tracking this for a while. Last month, we had 24 open hours, so that's 0.8%. Great job. Guys are stepping up, working the overtime, you know, doing what they need to do. George, to your question about the mutual aid responses, Jeremy only tracks 17. I look at things just a little bit differently than he does. I have 20 that I counted. And then in the table, you can see where those resources go. So looking at this, the village is our high count last month at 9 responses. All of those were medicals. Springfield came in at 4. And Highland was in at 3. So, you know, we share as well. Highland came in on a mutual aid for us for the fire. It's not 1-for-1, obviously, but our services do get used outside the area, and that's about, you know.
How many departments do we have at the fire?
So on our box alarm for that particular house fire, Benton City and Township, Holly Village, Highland, White Lake, Groveland, Springfield, and.
Oh, wow, everybody was there.
So the way we plan that, So 2 foot by 3 foot sheet, right? Part of that is ISO points too. That's part of this response on a mutual aid or a box alarm, we call it, is we need to get the water there. And we need to have a lot of water quick, so, and we don't want to bottle up fill sites, and there's a whole bunch of cool things that go into it. But yes, that many people. And nobody is super uber flushed with staff. I think at that fire, we had maybe 10 of our own guys. So, I mean, I came in from home,
We had what?
maybe 10-ish of our own guys. Well, it just so happened Doug's in Florida, Brianne was in Florida, not together. There was, Scott Blaska was in Florida. There was, right, we
Are we
just,
gonna have to build a substation down there now?
well, I was kind of wondering the same.
That's on the line.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the 2.5 million, 27, yeah, no. Everybody was on vacation, right? It was Easter-ish and folks were doing their thing, spring break at school, right? So, you know, we were a little strapped for folks, but that's our normal response. And if we need to turn somebody around, we get on the radio and say, thank you, go home, go to bed. So, but yeah, a lot of times if you're up, or if we're up, you're up. So, and that's just the way it is. And we do it for that. So what it looks like is about 16.5 or 17% of our runs last month were mutual aid runs. The structure fire that you alluded to, just to follow up on that real quick. I sent out the media release to the board right shortly after it happened, the night it happened. Supervisor Pellis and that guy over there, Stillwell, let them know that we were on a fire. It was in the Rose Township, so that was given out. Obviously, it was a total loss. When we got the call, it was well ahead of us. You know, trolling Facebook, there were posts and pictures and video shot where you can still hear sirens in the background, and it's just fully involved. So we had zero chance to do much of anything except keep it from spreading to adjacent structures. Now, the folks that were directly behind on Coggeshall, and then the folks that were directly next to on Southport, they did receive a little bit of heat damage, just because of the intensity of everything. But they did not lose property. They just had melted siding and minor stuff like that. So all of that said, we met with the family a couple of days after, and the association, our benevolent fund, presented the family with a gift to help them financially get through the first couple of days after the fire. I mean, if you think about it, you walk out of your house at 2 o'clock in the morning, some people might not have a whole lot on, or with them, right? So you need everything to start from the ground up, you know, toothbrush, undergarments, shoes, maybe, I don't know, right? So, so we made a nice donation to them. They came and met in my office. They brought their son, 4-year-old son, who was home at the time of the fire. We took that opportunity to let him spend some time with the firefighters on duty that day. One of our troopers, just so happens he was in. They stop in quite often, so they had a nice time out in the apparatus bay, going over the trucks, having some positive interactions, and hopefully creating some better memories than, you know, this child's house burning down before. So, you know, that just reflects pretty much our commitment to not only respond in those moments, but to provide some aftercare as well. So I was grateful that we were able to do that for them. So hopefully they're doing better and well and trying to move on with, you know.
I can tell you from personal experience, March 8th, 1984, in the village of Milford. The next morning when we got up, if it hadn't been for the little black comb in Daddy's pocket, the girls wouldn't have been able to comb their hair, nobody would. We had no toothbrushes, we were no ones. So I get it.
Good, good. Let's see, so right now we're at 416 calls for the year as of the 17th. So as I alluded, you know, do the math, it's 4 calls a day. Things are picking up. Wanted to talk, and I already did a little bit about Trilogy coming in. Just, you know, to flip the coin out there that once that's fully operational, it's going to impact our service. So not that I'm bashing it or anything else, it's just that FYI, you know, as we develop, we are going to grow, and our run volume is going to go up significantly. The last thing I wanted to talk about, I handed this out with everything as well. If you didn't know, Florida Renaissance Festival in Minnesota, owned by the same folks that own the one in Holly. So they lost, it depends on which media outlet you read, but there were structures lost, things were damaged. Again, kind of aggregating all the reports, leaning towards,
Was the festival active?
leaning towards lightning strike as the cause. But nonetheless, when you read some of the comments, the fire prevented challenges for emergency responders due to the festival's remote location, lack of municipal water supply, and muddy access roads. Firefighters had to transport water using tanker trucks from nearby Shankopee with approximately 86 firefighters. 36 fire vehicles were involved in the effort. That was according to KSTP 5 Eyewitness News. So not much different than our slice of pie out here. So just a FYI, we are meeting township, the authority, and the festival continually, and the planners, and the building department, and Dan. So there are, I think this just adds credence to the enforcement efforts we're trying to put into place. So
Absolutely.
just a F to the YI.
So this helps our cause. Bad thing is, helps us.
What's interesting is, it's point by point on the items that we've pointed out and want them to focus on. The needed water supply, talk to them about that. It really all of the issues. And one of the things in the article showed the fire stopped because they had a firewall between them. And we had required that as well. We opted to take a 20-foot separation, so we have the equivalent of that. So we're going down the same path that this other outfit is, and we've got additional safeguards planned.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Well,
great.
That's one of the reasons that, since I've been on this board, and when I first came to this board, my biggest concern was the ability to move around that place. Because I was there the year that it rained so bad that you couldn't walk through it. And that whole back section, Dead Bob back in that area, you couldn't move back there. People were trying to jump from building to building while the wood chips looked like a river going that way.
And they're trying to eliminate the use of wood chips for the very reason you mentioned. They plug the drains, and where the wood chips are, they're gradually replacing it with limestone or rock that will stay in place but keep your feet dry.
Well, yeah, that year I was there, it was so bad in that back section that it was standing water. And there were people that were stuck with wheelchairs in a little business or something, you know, where you went up the steps, because you couldn't move.
That's ADA, we don't talk about that.
I know.
It's like Bruno.
But I'm saying, my concern
We
that day
can't
when
have
I
that
was there
one.
was, oh my God, what happened if you had lightning strike and fire break? There's no way, you'd have had to bring your boat out there.
How you gonna get a gurney through the mud?
You weren't gonna move. It was ridiculous. And that was a huge concern of mine, so. And we've been to the festival and had fun, I get that. But you always worry about that moment.
No?
Would you like to add anything from the captain's perspective since you're here?
No, I've been fixing a lot of trucks and a lot of things, and it costs a lot of money. It sucks. Other than that, we're doing okay, we're keeping our head above water.
Okay, at this point, Holly Township, I've been gone a lot this past month. I went to the conference for the Michigan Township Association in Grand Rapids, Then the next week I was in Philly at a conference, came back, our treasurer had signed up for a conference in Lansing, she was sick, so I was 2 days in Lansing, so I had a lot of material, a lot of things we learned. I have something I want to share with Brad for Rose Township, some things for the village, and even some stuff for the fire department, so that's the good news out there. Karen, do you have anything to add? Rose?
Same thing. I seen George at the MTA conference in Grand Rapids, and, that's about all I have to say.
Debbie, do you want to add anything?
No.
Okay.
Any comments on the park plan?
Dan, it's your moment to
The park
shine. The
plan?
stage is yours.
The citizens at large has nothing to report.
All right. That being said, last minute for public comment. Oh, I thought you were getting ready to get up.
No,
I would just like to say thank you for the support and the understanding and the tutelage that has been given to me so far.
Back and forth on that.
Sure. So I think by day 400, I'll drop the excuse of, hey, I'm still the new guy. We're not there yet. So, again, I appreciate it.
I will say this publicly, I do appreciate the fact that you and I have been able to have conversations and meetings, and sometimes they're last minute,
Mhm.
and you're always available, and the communication's been good. So I appreciate all of it.
It's a team effort, and that's just, we have to keep looking at that, and having differences of opinions is healthy, and it's good as long as it's respectful.
Well, and I think
Right.
Mr.
Absolutely.
Stillwell will agree with me that we've never lost focus of what the purpose is of this department,
Mhm.
and I appreciate that.
I appreciate your updates too,
Welcome.
and your chief's report.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right, done with public comment and all the compliments. We will close the meeting at 8:29.
I'm a salesman, I can't steal pens.
Yeah, why don't you have pens, salesman?
Because I left them in the truck.
They're in the truck, right?
Yeah.
I offered to go
He
out
goes,
and get them.
I
got
have
a
one
pen?
on me, and I can't even find it. That's how bad